Right, I'm here on the balcony overlooking the square in Bristol, and I am joined by...
The Bristol Square.
The Bristol Square. I am joined by Armando Iannucci, who is a film director, possibly known to many, many people, I'm sure. First of all, what do you think of tonight's debate?
I think it was a bit tenser, actually, this one. It was much more even. There was such an element of, what the hell is this, last week? No one quite knew what to make of it. Whereas this week I felt all three of them were kind of fairly evenly balanced. I still think Nick Clegg didn't disgrace himself, and that's all he had to avoid doing, disgrace himself. Gordon Brown, I think, was a bit more confident, and Cameron raised his game, in my view, not quite enough. So that's where we're left. And it's interesting that the polls after the debate, one of them puts Cameron ahead by a few points, another puts Clegg ahead by a few points, but they're all roughly showing them all three of them in the sort of mid-30s each, and that kind of sums it up, really.
Did you think Nick Clegg did pretty well, considering he had quite a long way to fall after last
I think
week's
so, actually,
triumph?
because, he was so... everyone said he was going to be absolutely savaged by the other two, and that didn't quite happen. I mean, they nibbled away at various policies. They also said he was at a disadvantage being in the middle. Whereas, in fact, I thought, especially towards the end of the debate, he used that middle position quite well, because he started becoming a moderator with the other two. It was interesting, there was a period when he was asking Brown about immigration, and he was actually talking over Brown, saying, well, give us an answer. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then when Cameron was trying to answer the question, Clegg was going, well, what's the number? What's the number? Give us a number. And that was interesting. And also, I think he benefited from luck at the very end, in that he was the last of the three to sum up. So there he was in the middle, having the very last word, being able to point to the people on either side of them and dismiss them, and then hand over to you. So I thought that was quite interesting. I thought he sort of cleverly used that position that he'd been given.
Okay, and how did you think that the other two did in terms of adopting the successful techniques that Nick Clegg used last week?
Yes, exactly. That's the other thing. I mean, the other two were becoming more like Nick Clegg. I mean, Gordon Brown's joke about kids squabbling was, I think he delivered it a lot better than his jokes last week. But it was interesting, Cameron was picking bits of Nick Clegg from last week and using them this week. So he did a kind of I agree with Gordon line. And at another point, because what everyone remembers from last week's debate was Nick Clegg going, look at these two squabbling here. And that's precisely the line that Cameron used about Clegg and Brown when they were having a dispute about tribe or something. So it was interesting. I mean, Cameron said he wanted to be more himself tonight, but in fact, I think what he decided to do was be a bit more like Nick Clegg tonight. That was his game plan, which he kind of stuck to, and he did the kind of talking down the camera a lot more to people out of the Clegg book, and actually using his role aside to try and detach himself, to try and equate Labour and the Lib Dems as some kind of group that he was different from, and therefore set himself up as the change that they talk about, which only he can deliver.
Any advice for any of them for next week?
Well, the thing is, next week is the last one, so you can do what the hell you like, because David Dimbleby isn't going to say, well, that's it, you're not coming back next week. It's the last one, so it wouldn't surprise me if somebody tried something, not a stunt, but something a little bit different. And there was an element of that. There was an element, Cameron tonight saying to Gordon Brown, okay, do you disown those leaflets? So putting people on the spot like that. Another interesting part of the debate, I think, was the Pope question, because nobody saw that coming.
Absolutely.
Interesting question. I think it's there just to test how good people are when put on the spot like that. And there was a fair amount of throat clearing and waffling from all three, actually, until they kind of got their head around it. I thought Cameron answered it fairly well. And Clegg said that interesting thing, which a politician hasn't said before in public, which is, I'm not a man of faith. Interesting to see how that plays.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.